A little bit for this. All right, guys, and I'm really excited to bring you guys another live because I'm bringing you one of the world's very first AI certified agents, my man Steve Gordon. What's going on, Steve?
Oh, Nick, it's all good. It's been a great experience. It's been fun just chatting with you right before the live, and kind of sharing some stories. But I'm so grateful for the opportunity to have been part of really the first graduating class of
Yeah.
the Krem AI and Krem Institute, and the things that we've learned have just been mind blowing. It's just great, and it just keeps coming. I mean, that's the
Yeah.
thing, you know.
And I think that's one of my favorite parts about this group and this organization, really this group that we're putting together is, we're all on these calls, we're continuing to learn AI. And something we were talking about before this, which I found one of the interesting things about AI is you don't have to be a tech genius to be able to use AI. So you were telling a little bit of a story about how you just found an AI photo editing tool and were able to use it. You want to tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, for one of our listings, you know, the photos that were taken professionally were a little washed out, and we were really in a time crunch. And my wife, who's also my business partner, she does more of the marketing side, and I do more of the upfront work. So she looked at these photos, and artistically she didn't like them. And I said, well, just give me a couple of minutes. And I just went online. And I started to search some photo editing AI tools. Found one that I thought was going to work best for us. It was simple and gave great results. And pushed a button, and like 5 minutes later, I had a whole bunch of photos that were sharp, crisp, beautiful, the right colors. And she looked and she's like, "How did you do that?" Thinking I was a genius. I should have just told her I was, but
Right.
instead, part of the that training that I'm doing with Nick and the team, and she's like, just keep doing it. Just whatever you're learning, just keep learning, because it's been great.
And I think that's a big point of it too. Is again, you don't have to be a tech genius on the back end. Know how to edit photos because the AI does it for you now. Something very important that we learned throughout this training too was the importance of training your Chat GPT. How have you seen training your Chat GPT among other AI tools as impactful for like what you're doing?
It's funny because you can almost always tell when somebody's just using Chat GPT out of the box.
Yeah.
Or when they are more experienced, like we've been trained. And I remember in the beginning of our class, the first couple of days of the 5-day class, he talked about training, and I remember thinking, what is he talking about? What is he? I don't understand. And we're copying and pasting and doing all this homework. And then I realized on like day 4 or 5 exactly why. And we were at a wedding the other day, my wife and I, and the maid of honor got up to give a toast, and to the bride, and my wife and I looked at each other, like, she used ChatGPT because it was words that you wouldn't use. It was very flowery, and it hadn't been trained to be more specific. Had she put in specific items about that person, about the bride, maybe some stories that they had gone through as friends, places they'd been to, it would have written a much better and much more personalized
She might have just went there and said, "Write me a maid of honor speech."
That's it. It's exactly right. Just fill in this name. And so
well, I think that's what a lot of real estate agents out there are doing as well, because it's not their fault, but if you just buy a prompt package that says, "Write me a Facebook post for a buyer, make it entertaining and humorous," it's going to write it for any old buyer. So like something that we learned that you talked about too is training it to speak to your ideal client profile. Right. And one of the things that I found interesting too is, tell us a little bit of the way that you wrote you're doing some like pre-listing or pre-marketing for a property. Tell us that story about how you went about writing this listing description to make it more colorful for it.
Well, again, as I mentioned, my wife and I are a team, and I'm a licensed agent. She's not, but she does all of our staging, and she does all the back end. So I kind of on the front end get the houses up, buy them, and get them ready. We do a lot of renovations, predominantly on the ocean. That's our sweet spot, like houses that either on the beach or very close to.
Right.
So I said to her, do me a favor, you're more artistic. Give me 20 words, description words. When you think of this house, what do you think of? And she's like, charming, this, that, whatever it was, right? And then I said, well, then tell me like 20 things that you love about this house. Like, what are the favorite things that you love? This happens to actually not be one of our fix and flips. This is our personal home we're selling.
Oh,
And,
yeah.
you know, she talked about all the things that she loves in the house. And the more specific we got, the better the description goes. Then I said, you know, write me a listing description for this home. And then I said, you know, I added some stuff about the neighborhood, and I added things about, you know, why this house is so special. The one we live in is, you know, steps from the ocean and steps from where all the action and activity and nightlife is. It had been used as an Airbnb for the first few years we owned it. And I talked a little bit about the amount of money it made when it was an Airbnb. So it wrote a whole section on if you're thinking of an investment property. It would never have known those things. And when I just had it write the final document, of course, it's never final because we'll tweak it more and tweak it more. You know, now on the listing, it's phenomenal. I mean, again, she looked at me and she said, wow, this is unreal. And I could never have done that. And certainly I couldn't have done it in the time frame. I mean, it took me minutes. You know, versus most people when they're doing, you know, listings take days, weeks, and it's never perfect. And you know, there's just, I could go on, but you get the idea.
Yeah, but I think that's a great point. It's like the amount of time that these tools that we're learning about can save us. Because at the end of the day, as a real estate agent, we are paid to create the best marketing. It doesn't say that you have to sit down and write it. You aren't paid to write it yourself. You're paid to present the best marketing and get this home the best possible opportunity for your buyers or sellers.
No question about it. No question about it. Look, it's no different than giving somebody maybe some advice on how to stage your home or how to prep it. It doesn't mean that they're going to do it, or they need to know how to do it. They just need to take the advice, the education, and that's all we're doing here. Is we've just been educated to a much higher level, in my opinion, than any other agents I know. You know, I know a lot of them tell me they're using AI and ChatGPT, but that's just ChatGPT is just one tiny tool in our toolbox, in our arsenal, and you just keep coming up with more stuff. You just introduced something else where only, you know, your students have access to a great new product, and it's a killer tool, and nobody else has it right now. It's just not available to anybody else.
Man, I'm super excited to see what you guys can do for that one, because, you know, I think it's one that real estate agents have been asking about for years. How can I duplicate myself? How can I get myself in front of more video? And now we can literally do both for you. And it's going to be an amazing tool. I think it's just going to sweep the entire industry, and we get it first. So, Steve, I got one final question to ask you here, my man. Okay. What does it mean to you to be one of the world's very first AI certified agents?
You know, obviously there's a little bit of bragging rights, and you know, in addition, it really is an important thing to be able to say when I'm sitting with a potential client, because everybody, and certainly in Florida where we live, you know, it seems like everybody and their uncle and aunt are real estate agents. And you need to be able to separate yourself from the herd, and you know, to be able to say that, and you know, they say, well, you know, so and so said that they use AI too, but then to talk about what you can do, or as we were taught in class, even to sit down with a laptop or an iPad and say, well, let me just show you the difference between average and exceptional. Yeah, and this is what I'm going to do for you if you end up allowing me the privilege of being your agent and selling your home for the maximum amount we can. Yeah. So, you know, to me, it's just learning. And also, you know what, I feel like, I hate to admit this, but I'm a little older than a lot of the people in the class. And I didn't want to miss this. I didn't want to, you know, I didn't take advantage of social media right away. And I missed that wave in the beginning. And I knew that this was not going to be a short-lived situation. This was going to be something that's here and growing and going and going and going and getting better. And I think that if you wait too long, it's going to be harder to catch up, because it's like you got to learn the first stuff, but you want to learn all the new stuff. And if you don't know how to do step 1, you can't do step 5.
I think that's a very, very good point, Steve, as far as setting up the foundation, because that's what we talk to you guys about, getting your certification through this. People are like, isn't AI going to continue to change and evolve? Yes, but the foundation on which it works and knowing how to set that right foundation, train your ChatGPT and other tools right, allows you to expand further and faster. Where without that foundation, it'll be constantly bouncing around to the next thing, the next thing, and the next thing. With the solid foundation, which we provided, like you just said, I think there's no better place to start. And guys,
There is.
Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, the only thing is if somebody's looking at this interview and they're thinking, do I want to get involved in this class? I will tell you, it's not just the class. It's follow-up classes. It's phone calls. It's one-on-one Zooms. And there's a whole classroom environment that we have access to with videos and training and interaction with potentially, other students if you want to, and not if you don't want to. There's so much there that if you miss a follow-up video training, it's there on video the next day. So you never feel like you're left out. You put together a tremendous program. I'm blown away.
I really appreciate that, Steve. And guys, if you're in Florida, you want to work with one of the only AI certified agents in the world, you got to reach out to my man, Steve Gordon here. Steve, thank you so much for your time here today. And let's win the day.
Nick. Have a great day. Thanks for your